Yes.
And we are now unmuted.
And considering that some of the people at this table, we're really never muted, even when our sound isn't official. I would like to call this meeting of the South Florida Regional Planning Council to order. Today is Monday, July 31st. I will ask, is it Kathy that takes the roll? I will ask Kathy to take the roll and let us know whether or not we have a quorum of the executive committee or a quorum of the council.
Bailey?
You were saying
Kaplan?
Senator Garcia.
Kaplan is here.
Cakes? Mayor Cakes?
Here.
Borodino?
I see him.
I see him too. He waved.
Yeah, okay.
Burr?
Here.
Garcia?
Present. Physical self.
Standing ovation. Gilbert? Goldberg?
Here.
Orland?
Here.
Hoffman? Lincoln?
Here.
McGee? Ross? Udine?
Udine is here.
Andriana? Lynn?
Shirini Fong for that win.
Thank you. Villavoy?
Here at the end.
Geller?
Here. And I know we have a quorum, I believe, I should say, no, I believe we have a quorum of the executive committee. Do we have a quorum of the council?
No.
Okay, but we do have a quorum of the executive committee.
Chair, for the record, if you can, under the provisions of section 120.525, we do not have a full legal quorum for the full meeting of the council members. However, with the executive committee present and the membership online, they'll be able to participate and you'll be able to conduct public business in accordance with the rules.
Very good, thank you. Thank you, Attorney Gordon.
Yes.
If I will ask Senator Garcia, if everyone will rise, Senator Garcia, will you lead us in the pledge, please?
Please face the flag and repeat after me. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I see Councilwoman Forland is on.
Yes.
No, right, okay. I will ask for a motion for approval of the council agenda.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Furr, seconded by Senator Garcia. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. It would approve unanimously. I would like to extend the congratulations of the SFRPC to Mayor Greg Ross, who is the incoming president of the Florida League of Cities. I'd actually planned a proclamation at the county, but we were asked to delay that until he was outgoing president as opposed to incoming president. So that's what he asked for, so that's what we'll do. I would also like to congratulate Council Member Michelle Lincoln, who was elected first vice president of FAC. Yay!
There you go.
And I look forward to working closely with Michelle. I have been appointed to the executive committee as the chair of the Urban Affairs Committee, which is the, I think, 7 or 8 largest counties. And I'll be chairing that for the next year. I will go to item 3 only to point out that that is a time certain at 11 o'clock. And where we'll be hearing presentations plural. I'm sorry, 11 o'clock is, we have 2 time certains, both the audit and the MER. And on the MER, I know we'll be hearing from Christina. It is my understanding that in the event that there are questions, that there are people here from Jacobs Engineering as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
Anyone here from Jacobs?
Susie Torienko's on the line.
Okay, so Ms. Toriente, and just to verify, are we planning on having them speak, or is this, they're here just for questions and it's primarily? Okay, great. And we are now on Roman numeral 4 action items. I will ask for a motion for approval of the minutes of the prior meeting. Has everybody seen them? Are there any additions or corrections? Seeing no additions or corrections, is there a motion? Senator Garcia moves adoption, seconded by Councilmember Fur. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed. Show that adopted unanimously. Leo, you're up. Financial report.
On virtual and one to be.
There you are.
Okay,
Good morning, everyone.
good morning, Leo.
I can tell you, it's a great time to be living in South Florida now with all the Messi mania and being Argentinian, so I'm happy to be here. So,
You want to announce
No,
that?
you should.
Okay, Isabel just told me you're getting married.
we can hide that under the table.
As we say in Spanish, mazel tov.
Thank you very much. So, yeah, this week it will be, the D-Day for me.
It sounds like you want to say something.
Está loco. Oh, I've heard that.
That's hilarious. Both of you guys.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to present you with great financials by the end of June 30th, 2023. On page 1, we will see that the general fund, the assets decreased by $100,939, as well as liabilities and fund balance. Federal, state, and local funds increased in $70,686, as well as liabilities and fund balance. The revolving loan funds, the assets increased by $6,940, as well as liabilities and fund balance. At the Southeast Florida Regional Prosperity Institute increased its assets in $77, as well as liabilities and fund balance. Let me tell you that with the Fed hiking their rates, we're seeing an increase in interest rates, and the South Florida Regional Prosperity Institute is no exception. So we moved that account to be now a money market account, so it's interest bearing. So that's why you'll see changes on a monthly basis. We go to page 2 of the financials, we'll see that the statement of activities for the month of June 30th closed with total revenues of 80% of the annual budget. I said in revenues, right? And in our expenses, we're at 58% of the annual budget at a 75% of the fiscal year lapsed. That's due to the efforts of all our planners. Thank you, Christina, Alicia, and Jeff, and all the rest of our planners for your collection efforts. So that brings our financials to a good point at the end of June 30th.
Very good question. You said 58% of our expected annual budget spent, what, 75% of the year? So is what I'll call a surplus, is that caused by lower spending, or is that caused by higher revenue, or a combination thereof?
Well, when we're talking specifically about expenses, it's lower spending, and that's explained by the open positions that we have in our roster. There are some positions that have not been covered yet, and we're working on that diligently with Isabel, so we can start covering them. I don't know if you know, but this is, well, not news by this time, but we've hired a deputy director that he's starting next.
And that will be under Isabel's report.
That is correct.
Great.
Right, because remember, we had
Right.
budgeted for.
That's what I was thinking, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we budgeted for that position for the whole year, and
Right.
it's starting by the end of the year, so that gave us some more money to
Good.
call it.
Okay. Are there any additional questions? Commissioner Udine, I don't know if you're still on. You're the one I normally look to on our financials.
Money guy.
You're the money guy in the bank. Do you still own the bank, or has that been sold?
It's been sold, but yeah, I'm still involved. But they the financials look good. I mean, obviously we're lower on expenses and exceeding on revenue, so you can't go wrong there. So good job by everyone in the finance department.
Thank you,
That
Commissioner.
would be Leo.
All right. If there are no additional, I'm sorry, yes.
With that,
Mike?
I'll make a to approve.
There you go. Just what I was going to ask for. Thank you. Commissioner Udine moves approval of the financial report. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Furr. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, nay, show it adopted unanimously.
Thank you very much and go into Miami.
Yes, which is playing in Broward.
That's crazy.
And Lord knows how long that'll go on for, because did you guys ever reach final agreement on the stadium with them or that country club site?
The city of Miami, I think, still has to go back to the county, but the biggest issue that we had with the county was the takeoff and landing of the planes, but I think that's been resolved with the FAA, so it's just a matter of time.
Good. Next, we will turn to Roman numeral 4C, the consent agenda and comprehensive plan. And I guess I will ask for our attorney to read that, the proposed consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, the item is item 4C, and it relates to the proposed land use plan amendments. It's a public hearing for each. City of Aventura 23-01 ESR. Next up is the City of Aventura 23-02 ESR. City of Aventura 2303 ESR. Next up, the Village of Biscayne Park 23-02 ER. And the City of Miami 23-04 ESR.
The public hearing is now open on these 5 items. Is there anyone present in person or virtually that wish to speak on any of these 5 items? This is your chance. Going, gone. Show the public hearing closed. I know we need a roll call vote, but we can vote on all 5 together, correct?
Yes.
Okay, is there a motion to approve? Moved by Commissioner Furr, seconded by Senator Garcia. Again, this is the comprehensive plan amendment proposed. Kathy, please call the roll.
Kaplan,
Yes.
Gates,
Yes.
Corradino. Burr,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Goldberg,
Yes.
Portland,
Yes.
Lincoln,
Yes.
Udine. Geller.
Yes. Let me ask Councilmember Udine and Councilmember Corradino. We just heard from Councilmember Udine. Councilmember Corradino.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
show that adopted unanimously by the executive committee. Will have to be ratified, I believe, at our next meeting. Please read the agenda, Sam, for the adopted comprehensive plan
Thank you,
amendment.
Senator. And again, following the custom and practice of the council, yes, the members who are voting are council members, although the executive committee is simply in its current mode legally. And to that extent, the meeting is able to be conducted. The adopted are as follows for public hearing for each: the Village of Biscayne Park, number 23-01 ESR, the City of Fort Lauderdale 23-01 ESR, City of Key West 23-01 ACSC, the City of Key West 23-02 ACSC, the City of Layton 22-01 ER, the City of Miami 23-01 ESR, City of Miami 23-03 ESR, and last but not least, the City of Sunrise 22-01 ESR, all for public hearing and all adopted. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. The public hearing is now open on the adopted comprehensive plan amendments. Is there any person present, either personally or virtually, that wishes to comment on any of these items? Now is your chance and your only chance. Going, gone. Show the public hearing closed. Kathy, please call the roll.
Kaplan,
Yes.
Gates,
Yes.
Corradino,
Yes.
Correct.
Burr,
Yes.
Understood.
Garcia,
Aye.
Goldberg,
Yep.
Portland,
Yes.
Lincoln,
Yes.
Udine,
Yes.
Geller.
Yes. Was there any member present that didn't vote that you noticed? No, okay. All right. In that case, please show that adopted unanimously. Attorney Gorin, I would ask you to briefly explain, our powers on the comprehensive plan amendments are somewhat less, well, or a lot less than they used to be, but they are still there. And it's my understanding that staff reviews each of these, and if they are on consent, it's because they're just non-controversial, but there are, our staff reviews them, and can you explain, Mr. Gorin, what powers we still have on that?
I can, under chapter 163, which is the guiding statute in Florida governing comprehensive plans and intergovernmental coordination, under section 163-3184, the state land planning agency and the local planning agency, being the regional planning council, still exist. They were not abolished by state law. There's still an obligation by state law for this organization to review both proposed and final, and to provide comments under the subsection reference to subsection 3 under the state review. The end result of which is it's in essence an unfunded mandate. In years past, there used to be a contract between the DCA, now the Department of Economic Opportunity, which funded regional councils for this particular allocated state responsibility. That ended some number of years ago, but the actual obligation legally to do the work didn't end. So this council has a rich history over many years of actually fulfilling their statewide obligation for a fee or not. And for that purpose, the applicants who submit to this council for review and comment do so in good faith, and the council in good faith responds legally to the extent possible in providing comments on both proposed and final. You've been down this road before, and it was no different, and all these applicants have a right to a public hearing under the state statute.
And on some of these, there is a little bit of a problem just on timing, because we are given, there's a bunch of agencies given 30 days to comment.
Correct.
To speed things up. And frequently we can't issue our comments until we get comments from other agencies like FDOT or, Department DEP or something, but they have the same 30 days that we do, which causes immense complications.
And then, Mr. Chair, just for the record, that same statute lists them, and as you just articulated, which includes reviewing agencies as follows: the appropriate regional planning council, which is ourselves, the state land planning agency, the appropriate water management district, the Department of Environmental Protection, the Department of State, the Department of Transportation, and in the case of plan amendments related to public schools, the Department of Education. So the state in the statutes did not eliminate these requirements. The statute still exists, and we sit among others in equal capacity to provide those comments, not in a subordinated capacity in any way, shape, or form. And today this simply fulfills that statewide obligation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Attorney Gorin. Are there any questions? If not, we will proceed to Roman numeral 4E, towards the time we have time certain membership fees. We have discussed this at many of our meetings. I believe we now have consensus at this and are in the process of sending out the statements. Isabel, if you can issue a report on
Yes.
on 4E 2023-2024 membership fees.
Yes, thank you, Chair and council members. As Senator Geller has mentioned, we've discussed this now. This is our fourth conversation on this. We wanted to be very clear and transparent about the conversation we're having to increase the dues. We will get over some years up to 30 cents. This year, it would be increasing the dues to 22.5 cents. And here you'll see if you look to the second page, you'll see where we rank in terms of the dues where we are now. We've been among the lowest in Florida, and certainly the lowest amongst the counties. And the reason for this is that we do, as you heard earlier, have vacant positions that we have not been able to fill. And we have a lot of work coming up. I'll discuss more about the different meetings and things that are coming up. And if you look at your highlights that I left at your desk, you'll see a summary of all the different activities that we're involved in. There's quite a few there, and I'll also be talking about the work that we're doing with Miami-Dade on the solid waste management issue.
On Senator Garcia's resolution.
Yes, Senator Garcia's resolution. So again, this item has come to this board in April, July, and May, and it was approved. And so this is the meeting where we formally approve it to transmit to the counties.
Okay. Are there any questions? If there are no questions, is there a motion up for approval? Councilmember Burr moves approval, seconded by Senator Garcia. All those, is there any debate? Seeing no debate, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Show it adopted unanimously.
Thank you. council members.
Let's see, why don't we go, I will get back to the audit because that's at 11 o'clock and along with the MIRR. So I don't want to start early.
Well, I do see Miss Davis is here.
Can we start
Staff.
early?
Absolutely.
Okay, normally I thought that time certains couldn't start early, but what the hell, let's do it.
If we cannot, but anyone who's affected by it is currently in the room and,
Okay.
and the principal speaker is here.
Okay, so I have, let me revert back. I think we're doing the
Audit first.
audit first. Who is making the presentation?
Miss Davis.
For audit.
Tanya Davis.
Tanya Davis from S. Davis and Associates.
I think you can come over here, Tanya. Thank you.
Right now, all of the council members are viewing the presentation as well that are off.
Good. All right, thank you for being here, Ms. Davis. You're recognized.
Good morning. Thank you for having
And
us.
was her trustee psychic?
I'm Tanya Davis, partner with S. Davis and Associates and the engagement partner on your audit. I have with me Joy Chambers Nicholas, who really did everything. with the audit. I'm just here. But Joy was the senior in charge of the audit and worked very, very closely with Leo and other staff to get the audit done. And before I get started, so it's not lost, I do want to thank management and staff, Leo and staff, for helping us to get to this point so that we are able to present the audit to you. The financial statements, we have an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, which is also known as a clean opinion.
Okay, see.
That's the best type of opinion you can get. As you all have heard me say in previous years, it basically says that there are no numbers in there that we consider to be significantly or materially misstated. We found no material weaknesses in internal control over financial reporting, no instances of non-compliance or other matters that require us to report in accordance with government auditing standard. Because you have over $750,000 of expenditures in federal funds, you are required to have a federal single audit. We have an unmodified opinion on that audit as well. We tested 2 major federal programs, and we noted no material weaknesses in internal control over compliance for those federal grant programs. We also audit in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 10.550, Rules of the Auditor General for state and local governments, no matters of negative impact to report on that. And with respect to Section 218-415 of the Florida statutes, which is your investment of public funds and deposits, not just investments, but investments and deposits of public funds, the council is in compliance. And with that, you all probably want me to go ahead and do that. That's the gist of it. Everything
Okay,
is good.
let me say that, it is very rare that I hear an audit that doesn't have any suggestions or problems, so I'm thrilled. And you didn't see any problems there then?
No, and I do have more of a presentation. I
Right.
just know I probably lost a lot of you all now that you know everything is good. But no, we didn't see any problems, as you know.
Right.
The council is a very small organization. So the difficulty in a small organization such as this is to have maximum segregation of duties. But the council does its best to segregate with oversight, and even with the 1 or 2 people that you have, in finance, there's enough oversight for there not to be any concerns. If we were to make recommendations, it would just be
Hire more people.
to make them.
Right.
It would just be to
We'll go
make
with
them. And they wouldn't be viable things that you could really implement, given the size of the organization.
I understand, all right.
Okay.
Are there any questions of Ms. Davis? Again, Commissioner Udine, my resident financial guru, did you have any, or does anyone else have any?
I don't think you can get much better than a clean, perfect, unmodified opinion, so I will make a motion to accept and approve the audit.
Motion by Commissioner Udine. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Furr. Did you have any additional remarks you feel
Yes, I do.
compelled to make?
One
Okay.
of the things that we are required to talk to you all about, for our standards, well, there are several things. We did have an engagement letter that was signed that spoke to the responsibility, plan, scope, and timing of the audit. Your accounting policies are in note 2 of the financial statements. We had no, at the end of the audit, had no uncorrected misstatements. The only difficulty that we had in the audit was with respect to the migration to the new accounting system. And that doesn't fall on any person or any personnel here at the planning council. I'm on page 12, sorry.
Okay, yeah, I've been told that we were required to switch from QuickBooks to,
No, we went from
Oh.
a different system to.
oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And,
You aren't required to switch from QuickBooks, but I
To
don't
QuickBooks,
think,
right,
we don't,
right.
given what we all went through.
right,
For the audit, and I'm sure what Leo went through during the year to get to the point that he had auditable financial statements. QuickBooks is just not optimal for this planning council. A lot of planning councils use it, but they aren't as complex. They don't have the revolving loan funds and things of this nature that this planning council has. So we think that the man hours that it took to get where we got to today, you'd probably be better served with a new system. And I know Leo is already looking at some other
If I
systems.
could,
You're saying it's not optimal.
It's
right.
not.
We switched to QuickBooks and she's saying QuickBooks
if I.
is not
Yeah, if I
optimal.
could, just
Isabel?
by way of background through the chair. So y'all will recall that when we used an accounting software that I would describe as arcane. It was 3 people knew how to run it. And so what would happen is that it left the council in a very vulnerable position in the finance department because we were beholden to one of the 3 people who knew how to run it. So consulting with other regional councils, all of them were raving about QuickBooks, how easy it was, how to do payroll, how we could do this, this and that. And so I consulted with Tanya. We said, well, we'll give it a try. This was right when Leo was coming in, because he was actually trained on the old system. And so we
That's
decided
one of the 3
that-
people that could handle that.
yeah, well, after, yes, it was crazy. So, but my concern about it wasn't the system per se, except that it just left us very vulnerable. It meant that any given day, the finance director could walk out of the office and we were done. No one would be able to do anything,
Which you did experience.
which we did experience, we did. And so, didn't want to maintain that vulnerability. So, however, our accounts, as Tanya mentioned, is much more complex than a lot of the regional councils. We do have the revolving loan funds. We have what they call the fund accounting programs. And so it does look like we're gonna need to go through this one more time, but to get to a suite, it will actually take the council up to a whole different level. Because it will have a customer relation module, it will have modules for project management, the finance, the payroll. And again, Leo knows more about it, but yes, this was a labor to get to this. It was not easy. Poor Leo, he wanted to quit every day.
Well,
Still thinking about
we will bring this up. That's not actually part of the audit,
No,
but thank you for that
Right.
comment.
yes, thank
And
you.
what I would ask is that we get together informally, myself as chair, the chair-elect, or is he vice chair or chair-elect?
No, he's chair-elect.
Chair-elect, okay, incoming chair, whatever his title is, and staff, and just quickly in the next couple of months, make it, yeah,
And our
make
treasurer,
recommendations. Of course.
The main issue that we're facing, I mean, there's
Yeah.
2 issues actually. One is that we have to set apart a small fund for implementation, that the implementation cost will be $60,000. It's a one-time payment. Then it will be a recurring payment of $20,000 per year. So we'll need to talk about that one, whatever is on the budget. And the second thing is the migration again.
Right,
And we will need probably a temp hire just to help us with all the, financial migration. Because that is heavy duty work.
Yeah, and the problem is hopefully that's automatic, but if it's manual translation, then there will be errors.
I mean, we've done it.
It's
We've done it
inevitable, right?
almost manually, and then that's why it took us so long to get clean, clean figures for the auditors to work properly.
However, this item is not in front of us right now, so there is a motion and a second to approve the audit. Were there any other comments that you feel you should be making?
No, I don't have any.
Okay, in that case, all those in favor, it was moved by Commissioner Udine, seconded by Commissioner Furr. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Show the audit approved.
To the chair, I just want to make sure we also recognize Joy, because Joy has, I don't know, she's.
Let me tell you
She's a hero.
one more thing. If Joy was not here to help us, it would have not been possible. So thank you, Joy. Thank you
Yes,
very
plus,
much.
plus we would have needed a new treasurer after you quit. All right, thank you, appreciate it. We are reverting now to that portion of the agenda dealing with the MIRR, that Florida Military Installation Resilience Review. And I think there should be an MIRR or something. And it's my understanding that the presentation on that is by Christina. Is that correct?
Principal planner.
Thank you.
Principal Planner Christina Miskus. At the conclusion of which, it's my understanding that Jacobs is here as well, either in person, virtually, or both. And if Jacobs has any additional comments that you'd like to make, I will offer that opportunity, but not requirement. So, Ms. Miskus, thank you. Great job, and take it away.
Thank you so much. Yes, we have Susie Toriente on the line. So she'll be able to answer any questions from Jacob's point of view, and Josh in the audience. I just want to acknowledge all the good work from Jacobs on this project. So I'm here to give you a brief progress update on the South Florida Military Installation and Resilience Review that was funded by the Department of Defense, specifically the Office of Local Defense Community Corporation. And the purpose of the MRR is to identify the risks, hazards, and vulnerabilities of concern, as the slide states, as it relates to the ability of the military to carry out its missions on the installation outside the fence line. So this is really a project to work with local communities outside the fence line of the installation to identify how we can improve resilience, specifically to the critical mission of the installation itself. So there were three focuses of this project: to protect and preserve military readiness, to improve the public health, safety, and general welfare of those around the military installation, and to increase public awareness of the military missions through this project. I just want to mention that Jacobs was selected through the action of this subcommittee of the board. And there was also another consultant, South Florida Defense Alliance, the W Community Outreach and Engagement on this project. Next slide. So the study areas, we had four, sorry, it's like legible, but I know it's legible in your handouts. There were four installations as part of this project. There was the South Florida Ocean Measurement Facility, which is in Dania Beach, just south of Port Everglades. The Coast Guard installations were not included in this project, but we definitely, there was an eye to those issues, but they weren't the focus of this project. In Miami-Dade County, we had Southcom, which is in the city of Doral, and Homestead Air Reserve Base, which is an unincorporated Miami-Dade County, but is adjacent to the city of Homestead. Finally, we looked at the Naval Air Station, thank you. All the way down in Key West, Naval Air Station Key West, which is in the city of Key West. Next slide. So the reason we looked at them regionally is because they did have these mutually connected interdependencies. There are other MRR processes that only deal with one installation at a time, but this was one of the unique aspects of this process, and that it was regional in nature. And because they have interdependencies in relation to tenant commands, missions, communications, and operations support. So, and also they have commonalities in terms of vulnerabilities and adaptation that needs to happen moving forward. So, which is what we found during this process. Next slide. So throughout this process, we did have a study advisory committee. And we're very grateful for that engagement. We had participation from the Chief Resiliency Officer in Miami-Dade County, the Chief Resiliency Officer in Broward County, and of course, and the Monroe County Chief Resiliency Officer was also invited. They were integral to this process, as well as the rest of our study advisory committee. So it was really a process that was very much based on engagement of our communities. We conducted project goal setting, data collection analysis, vulnerability and risk assessment, which is the technical portion, and required a lot of modeling. And that was conducted by a sub-consultant, Jacobs Acton. It was led by Dr. Samantha Danchuk, who used to work for Broward County in the Resiliency Office. So that was a very good strength for the study.
We miss her.
Yeah, she's doing well. So she's doing good work. And finally, then adaptation strategies were developed. And implementation strategies are developed. And that's the stage we're basically at now. This process is actually wrapping up. Next slide. This goes over also the similar to the last slide. In terms of developing this strategy, the steps that were involved. Next slide. Thank you. These are some of the deliverables that were produced as part of this process. There was a unified resilience assessment methodology that was produced, as well as planning guidelines and decision-making framework for investment. And this will carry forward in terms of the project implementation phases and beyond. Next slide. The project began in April 2022. That's when really Jacobs came on board and is currently wrapping up now. You see all the way to the right, in July 2023, we're finalizing the final report. That'll be available, we expect, by the end of August. We just have some edits to be made, and we could probably come back and present to you again at that time if you would like, and make the report fully available.
I'm going to briefly interrupt only to add, at that time, just for planning purposes, does the SFRPC need to vote to adopt the report, or? Okay, so there'll be a presentation, but there's not a requirement for a vote.
Right.
Great.
Yeah, we
That's
give the
all right.
board an opportunity to ask questions about the
Gotcha.
report.
That's all I need to know. Thank you. Just for planning purposes.
Thank you. Yeah, and also this slide,
Yeah, it's not like you said.
it's not like a strategy that has to be adopted by federal guidelines. It's something that the next phase really is implementation. So it's taking these projects, elevating them, continuing the coordination. Continuing the coordination process and implementing the projects that are recommended. So it's up to us to continue the momentum. Next slide. We had a very robust, as I mentioned before, engagement process with the study advisory committee. This is the kickoff meeting that occurred in May 24th, 2022 at Southcom, and at which General Richardson actually provided the introduction and her support. This was commended by the Department of Defense. Actually, this project was commended in terms of its engagement of the military interests, and which can be hard to do sometimes because they're very busy people. Next slide. So in addition to study advisory committee, we held working group workshops at the installations themselves. So there were boots on the ground, and really to gain insight from the installation and to do field insight reviews of the installation that shows the engagement that occurred at each facility. And we had really good participation from the local communities, and that's the whole point of the study. Next one. What we found, this gives you an example of the kind of work that was done as part of this process. There were common vulnerabilities at these installations, which makes the regional approach even more important, and it shows why the regional approach really helps. As you'll see, some of the vulnerabilities that they had in common were extreme heat at every installation, something that we'll have to continue adapting to as local communities. Flooding of the roadways was also something that was common to all installations, so we had to look further into which facilities needed adaptation. Next slide. This gives you an example of the modeling process that was completed during the exposure analysis. Individual hazards are overlaid, and then we found where the vulnerabilities were. So that was the apt-and-learn process. Next slide. Finally, this goes into a little bit more as to how this is being replicated statewide. There's other regional planning councils that are using this model to do work for their own installations. Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council is doing an MRR from MacDill Air Force Base. Emerald Coast Regional Planning Council is doing one up there, East Central Florida and Northeast Florida. So really, we started this momentum in the state for RPCs to get involved with this military installation resilience review.
Have you been
process.
receiving thank you letters from the other RPC?
No, but we
Actually, we got some
Great.
gratitude, yeah.
we do, we have had,
And
what
Central
names-
Florida also is gonna go.
Yeah, that's right. We have ongoing collaboration meetings, so that's really helpful. I won't keep you, if you have any, specific recommendations, about the installations, next slide, I think we're at the end of this deck. Are we in? Are we
It
sure?
says 157. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, well, part of this process is we're reviewing all the planning guidebooks and the regional climate action plan to make sure that when our recommendations went forward, that we were in line with the state, local and regional adaptation guidelines and forecasts. So that's been a common question I've gotten is, are we overestimating perhaps the climate change effect on these installation communities? No, we're using Southeast Florida Regional compact to, as a guide, you know, for what's
And in fact,
adopted.
this year, we're seeing that far from overestimating the climate impact. We may have been underestimating it.
Right, yeah, we certainly haven't overreached though.
Right.
Because this was adopted right during the 3.0 was just adopted. So does that fall in line with what?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Next slide. So the outcomes, you know, as we move forward, we're looking to align with state grant funding opportunities as well as Department of Defense funding opportunities. So what this process can actually do is leverage funding from the Department of Defense to make improvements around the installations, even though they're not on the installations themselves. We can leverage funding to improve the communities around them. And
And that
make
was
them
the
more
purpose of
resilient.
it,
Right.
was to identify the improvements outside the fence line.
Right, and also to align with potential funding.
Mhm.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How does that funding flow?
It's a grant process that would have to reapply, based on specific projects. A lot of these MRRs, the phase two, I think, like project design, like 60% project design in phase two. If you have specific projects, you can elevate.
Are these funded by Department of Defense? Are they funded by state? What groups would provide that funding?
So part of this report is actually funding opportunities, and that includes both state and federal opportunities.
So we would have to try to secure those funding opportunities, grant opportunities. And the feds, and then try to secure them, they come through us, and then we allocate those funds out of that.
Oh, not to the council, it would come to the local government applying for the project, right?
The council.
So Miami-Dade County or a city seeking to make an improvement in the infrastructure that would enhance the resiliency of the facility. So some of it, for example, some of it is like DOT project, for example.
Right, I think the
Maybe I
benefit,
misunderstood, Senator, pardon me.
no. I think the benefit is we get to use this work.
Yeah.
For our own counties and such, to buttress
Yeah.
our own arguments for other
For the
funding.
application.
And the next page, I think, is maybe the most important.
Next page.
Yeah, this one right here, this one.
No, the one that says determining, is that page after that?
So yeah, it's added some extra slides to your handout.
Yeah, that one.
All of them, but this talked about the technical process that we went through.
Right, because again, now there is a cumulative asset score on mission risks. So people that are scoring higher should have a much better chance at funding. Let me ask Isabel a question. I've looked through the remaining issues. They're really both interesting and important, but I don't want, my question is, at our next meeting or meeting after that, when this is final, are we going to go over this in depth, set aside 45 minutes to go over it? If so, we don't need to go over it briefly now,
Right.
but if we're not going to have time to go over it in depth, that in the future, we should go over it now. Isabel, what do you think?
I mean, I would recommend going in depth in the future once we.
Oh, we have the
report,
final
so we can
report.
actually distribute it and you can actually review it.
Okay.
fully.
I would encourage all of the members and anyone else watching to take a look at the additional slides I have. It's very interesting. It includes on a case-by-case basis, you know, for each of the different four projects, what their problems are, how some proposed funding that would be necessary to fix that. But instead of going over this now, we will go over this at much greater length when the report is finalized. But I would encourage everybody to have reviewed this prior to the meeting that we go in, so that you will be able to ask any questions at that point in time.
So, through the chair, I would
Yeah.
like to take an opportunity to recognize Christina for her work as the project manager, and also our great partners at the South Florida Defense Alliance and Jacobs Engineering. They've done a great job, and we're looking forward to continuing on to finalize the report and wrap this portion up.
Great. Well, speaking of which, I don't know, I know we have somebody from Jacobs online,
Yes,
we have
we do.
somebody here. I am inviting, but if there is anything you would like to add, feel free to do so now. If there's not, then we'll hear from you when we have a final report. So, who is it from, Suzanne? Okay, Suzanne, if you would like to make any comments, feel free. If not, we are expecting to hear from you at length when the project is completed. Speaking today is purely optional on your part.
Oh, thank you very much, and good morning, Senator and members. I was here really to listen to see if you had any questions so that we could be prepared for the final presentation and report, and obviously to support Christina, but did an amazing job. So thank you. I'll see you next month.
Great, and it's very, I'm not sure if it's next month or the month after that.
It would be after August.
Yes, okay, so I don't think it'll be the August meeting. I think it'll be the September meeting.
Right, because we're on break in August.
Right, so we'll see you at our next meeting in September. And again,
Thank you.
great job from everything I've seen. So are there any other questions or comments before we conclude on the MIRR for today, not final conclusion?
These are just,
Commissioner
these are
Furr.
draft form right now, right? So they're not, say them online, okay.
Right, exactly.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments? Any other questions or comments? Jim, you've been talking way too much at this meeting, but and any other questions or comments? Seeing none, that concludes for today the MIR. Again, Christina, great job, thank you. We are now reverting to the agenda, and I believe we are on the Roman numeral 5, the revolving fund loan status reports. Josh, good to see you. By the way, Josh is my former chief of staff. Hi, Josh. Okay. And Jeff, I'm calling on you to make the report on both of the revolving loan funds.
Good morning, Senior Loan Officer and Manager of the Revolving Loan Funds. I'd like to share a few brief updates in regards to our CARES Act RLF program that began in July 2020 to date. The program has provided $7.17 million to 34 businesses that were impacted by COVID. As a result, we will provide capital assistance and technical resources to stabilize and grow their businesses. Keep in mind, the original grant was $5.3 million. We were able to revolve it to $7.17 million. It's done really, really well. The program continues its outreach in 3 counties with efforts to assist new prospective borrowers with both access to capital as loans are repaid and technical support from our local partners in each county. In regards to the traditional RLF, the program continues to perform well with $5.5 million in assets serving 30 borrowers. And our friends at Goran Shoroff, our legal counsel, continue to provide informative updates on our 3 borrowers and legal collection. And details on that could be found in the attached RLF status report. I want to give a brief update on a program that's near and dear to my heart. It's in regards to the Affordable Housing Initiative that's provided by the Southeast Florida Community Development Fund. I'm proud to report the program recently completed the financing of 2 new single-family homes to first-time minority home buyers on Raleigh Street in Hollywood, that's Commissioner Burr's district. Pictures been provided in your agenda packet. To date, the SFCDFI has financed 19 single-family homes in our region. The program is currently completing the affordable housing project duplex in Dania Beach, CRA. We were recently contacted by the Housing Foundation of America, a HUD-approved nonprofit, to assist with three new single-family homes in West Park. Our affordable housing initiative has been really successful as a result of its collaboration between locally minority-owned nonprofit home builders, the Urban League of Broward County, who just extended their investment in the SFCDFI, the Broward County Commission, and the Housing Finance Authority of Broward County. Through the support of the HFA of Broward County and Ralph Stone's office, we started preliminary due diligence to help administer and finance up to 14 new affordable housing projects in Broward County in 2020 through 2024. So it's been wonderful. I just want to thank everybody. Thank you. For your support. We're really making an incredible difference in the affordable housing front.
Commissioner Burke.
I thought this list, but you just mentioned a lot more. So how, can I get a list of that?
Of our 19 homes that we've done. Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of them in Liberia.
Yeah.
It's Liberia, Dania, it's West Park.
Yeah.
It's all your district.
It's all my.
Yeah.
Why is
I
that?
know, it's a lot of his district, but we market, we outsource, we speak to a lot of the economic development, and not just Broward. We do Miami-Dade, we have a home in a project in West Palm Beach. So, there's a longer list of people who need affordable housing than the money to build the projects.
I'm shocked. Why hasn't anybody told us?
And, but years ago, and I say this, it was always an issue about the money. There was never the money now it's flip-flop. So we have the money, which is great, and thank everybody. And the long list we have to find the land. The issue is the land.
With the sole exception of one case, which we may or may not hear from a report on from the attorney, are there any questions on either the revolving loan fund or the CARES Act revolving loan fund for Mr. Tartt? Are there any questions? If not, Mr. Gorin, is there anything that you want to discuss with us about the one problem case?
One snippet, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Yes, because I heard at the last meeting, you said there was an upcoming hearing.
Correct. And to the extent that you all have a copy of the June 29th memo from our law firm with regard to the status of all the RLF matters, which are currently in various stages of election, I'd urge you to take a look, if you can, at the Dawson file referred to as item number 1. And for the record, and this is public record, there was, in fact, on May the 29th, the court entered its order regarding the SFRPC's motion to dismiss the Dawson's 4th amended complaint as follows: granting in part with prejudice as to count 1, breach of contract, count 2, detrimental reliance, count 3, promissory estoppel, count number 9, unjust enrichment, count 10, equitable estoppel, count 11, modification, and count 12, retaliation, and denying in part as to count 4, and goes on. The end result of which there is a status conference before this judge, which is known as a case management conference, as the chair knows, on August the 21st. And on June the 16th, we filed the SFRPC's answer and defenses, which will be completed either doing a motion for summary judgment, setting the case for trial. Obviously, this is the longest item in the list. We only make note of that for the record, which is public record data. Anyone who has any question about this litigation matter, which has been going on for quite some time, we're happy to chat offline with regard to it at your convenience and direction.
Offline, I will ask you to advise me if we win, what our chances of electability are.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Are there any additional questions or comments to Mr. Tartt before I ask for a motion? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve, accept the reports moved by Commissioner seconded by, Councilmember Lincoln. Is there any discussion? Being no discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Show the report adopted. We are now on Roman numeral 6, discussion item. Let's wait for Senator Garcia to get back before we get to that part of your report.
In the meantime, I want to point out, council members, through the chair, that if you look at item 7B, correspondence and articles, we've come up with a new format to make it easier for you to know what's in the article in the package. So now you have an easy scan option. You can just look at the headlines and then you'll know you'll find that article there. And of course, if you ever see something that you think needs to be distributed at large, please let us know. But you'll see there's a lot of information here, ranging from the insurance, from MIRR, the solid waste management issues in Miami.
What do you think? What's easy access? Easier?
Well, you see right here, we now have like a table of contents on the thing. And they're
Right here.
online, they're
Right.
linked.
Okay,
I
like that. That's good.
Yeah, so
yeah,
it makes it
let me
easier.
ask you a question. How often do you prepare this? Monthly?
Yes.
If you could, if you're working on this, I personally, because there's some really good stuff here. If you're going to be doing it anyhow, if you could possibly do it weekly.
Yeah,
So, but it should be the same amount of time, but,
sure, we could do that.
right, but, and then email that to us, because
That would
there's
be
a
fine.
lot of good articles here on the type of issues that we're dealing with. Insurance,
I would be happy
water.
to do that. We always just try to be respectful of your email boxes, you know,
Yeah,
because
but
you get so much. but
I can't
happy
get
to-
any more than I am from you right now. Okay.
Oh, try me.
Okay.
So.
Can I ask you now, to discuss, as all of you know, we have become over the past couple of years, substantially more aggressive in what we're doing. In terms of actually doing regional planning. We are basically these days doing every year a major joint conference with the Treasure Coast RPC and additionally a major just SFRPC conference. Our last major conference with TCRPC
October last year.
was October last year, and that was on solid waste. Then we did an interim project with well over 100 people with them on water issues. Our South SFRPC was on the first and last mile
Right.
connectivity. And so we have some coming up. Additionally, we've been hosting other regional conferences like Queen Cities and things of that nature.
Right.
So if I can ask you, Isabel, to go over, I think we have,
Yeah, we have a few minutes.
we have 2 planned right now. Do we have a date yet? I think we do for our joint meeting with the
Right,
TCRPC.
so I would like to point out that the agenda, because this changed literally after the agenda had been printed. So right now, what we're trying to do is have the joint annual conference at the Broward County Convention Center, October 20th. The agenda says 27, and we will send an updated calendar appointment. I'm just waiting to have a confirmation from Treasure Coast. So, but it looks like it'll be October 20th, because that week of October 27th is right before the boat show, which you know is a major event here in Broward County. Convention Center is like really crazy.
The convention center will be waiving our fees for our meeting fees,
For the
but we
room.
are going to still be having to pay for AV.
Just like we did with
and-
Tribal Coastal Link,
Right,
remember?
right.
So we have to pay audio and food, so we have to figure out if we can afford that.
And this doesn't conflict with there's a bunch of Miami-Dade, Broward, and
Is that the SEPTEC thing? Is on the 20th?
that's going to Amsterdam.
We're going to Amsterdam.
There is a.
Well, if you're here, then no.
Okay.
I'm just
trying to make sure it's not
that same.
I know you're going to Morocco, but I didn't know you were going to Amsterdam.
It might be, but this one is not likely going to be Septec specific.
You know, it was actually on Tech Day,
I know, that's one.
but they don't have, but that's okay, it's not gonna be on transportation, so they don't need to.
Okay, let me tell you first, when is the SFRPC one? Do we know when that's like
Well,
February?
if we plan for, and this is where Senator Garcia comes in, since he was
I was
appointed. to
about
the
to
committee.
comment on
So-
that, right? But-
Pay attention.
Okay, we have,
I'm thinking March 2024.
okay, we have looked at the topics.
Oh.
The topic for the next SFRPC one is going to be on housings for people with mental health issues.
There's nothing firm, Senator, so if that's
But-
that time, we'll look for another.
Right, and Senator Garcia has tremendous experience in this from his days in the Senate. And this was a topic that he had suggested. And so I've asked Senator Garcia to chair that conference. And so I'll ask you to work with Isabel, but that should be February, March. And again, obviously,
Yes.
Senator, there will be a lot of preliminary work to do on that, except you've already, I mean, you know more about this than probably anybody in the Southeast Florida region, so, which is why I've asked you to chair that.
It could be April too, after the legislative session, because I know the Senator Garcia goes up there a lot. Doesn't matter.
Whatever you guys work out
Yeah.
is what we'll do. Now, in reference to the joint TCRPC, SFRPC meeting, we don't get to pick the topic because it's a joint topic. However, we have narrowed this to 3 proposals that, and I'm meeting tomorrow, chair to chair with the chair of the TCRPC. Do you recall which the 3 topics were?
Yes. I
Good,
do.
because I don't.
So one was the issue of affordable housing, property insurance.
Okay, one was property insurance,
Property
which again, we're looking at meeting from 10 to 4. So that's theoretically 6 hours, but it's actually around 4.5 hours of actual speaking. Because we start a couple of minutes late, we'll have a working lunch, but we'll give 20 minutes for people to grab their sandwiches. If we give 20, it'll take 30. There'll be some breaks, so it's probably around 4.5 hours, of which we'll probably spend perhaps 2.5 hours on windstorm and 2 hours on flood or something like that. If that's the topic, that's one of the 3 that we're proposing. Second one, as I recall, was kind of solid waste, but primarily
And
recycling.
the recycling issue, diving deeper on how to reduce contamination, how to
Yes.
increase recycling rate.
But again, you know, we're proposing 3 and then have to see what TCRPC is more interested in. And then the third one was,
I think it was housing around transit oriented development.
yeah, it was again, just overall housing, but with emphasis on transit oriented development. So again, this will, you know, these where we had discussed this, these came out of our last meeting where we voted that these 3 we're okay with them, with any of them, but you know, it's going to be up to TCRPC. If they say, we really like this one and hate the other 2, we'll go with that one. If they say, well, we can live with either of the, you know, we'll just have to negotiate. Can you also give us an update on the mayor's affordable housing?
Yes, as you will recall, in September of last year, we had a roundtable with large county mayors, Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach to have a conversation about what was going on in each county with respect to housing. And I know you're on one of the committees, Senator, that focuses on housing. So that was a good meeting, and now we are regrouping. We're gonna have a call with members of the mayor's staff on housing and the new public housing director this week, as well as with Ralph Stone from Broward County and the gentleman, Mr. Brown from Palm Beach, to do a revisit, to see what's new, what's changed. My understanding is that there's gonna be a glitch bill, as normally is the case when you have large pieces of legislation for Senate Bill 1 or 2, which was the big affordable housing bill, the Live Local bill. So what we want to do is work with our county partners to identify what may be some legislative opportunities and changes, if any, that they would like to see. And also, of course, re-engaging the mayors in this conversation, as well as council members who are interested in the housing conversation.
Actually, I gave you incorrect piece of information earlier. When we were talking about housing. We were not looking at focusing on TOD. If we,
It was a corridor.
it was the insurance on that in terms of not insurance. There was a major condo bill that we all know. And the problem with that major condo bill, right, is that it is requiring people that have not put aside any money and for reserves and have not done inspections to get inspections done. And whether we required that or not, the insurance companies are not going to insure condos that are more than 20 or 25 years old that have not had inspections. There are large numbers of condominium associations who have indicated that if we do that, they will either close or something because their members simply can't afford that and they would like the state to pay for it. There is a problem with that, both the amount of money, but also the moral hazard issue, which is it appropriate if you've had condominiums that have been charging their people every month, the reserves have not been waiving them and have been, paying them each month and therefore have been making them the payments into reserves. To have the state come along and say, well, you people that waived it each month, we'll pay for you, but obviously we're not going to pay for the people that don't need it. That kind of rewards the people that were doing what they shouldn't have done. So if we go with the housing option, which again, we're happy with any of these three, then that will be one of the areas that we'll be focusing on. But if not, because there will be a glitch bill on that, they promised, but I just don't see how this to me seems almost a solution that is insoluble. Unless anybody else, Senator, you look like you want,
Yeah.
do you have any bright ideas? 'Cause I'm out of
I
them.
have no bright ideas. I think the biggest problems that we have with the issue with condos, unfortunately, is the state regulatory component of it, which is non-existing.
Mhm.
We have an ombudsman office that's down here for Dayton, Broward, South Florida. That I don't know.
Has
if you
no
have-
powers.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a director there now or anything. I honestly think that the only way we're able to get our hands around this condo issue and the malfeasance that happens in some of these places is they need to start bringing back some of that local control back to the county. To try to regulate these associations from elections to finances and so forth, because we very well know, at least in my area, the issue that we have is they're taxing entities. They work like municipalities, and yet the regulatory scheme that exists is not the same that we, all of us around this room, are beholden to the law. In Miami-Dade County, we've tried to pass certain things within our powers to try to make it more, at least upon some of these finances to make it transparent and public to the people, but yet it's never gonna get resolved. And then with this, all this regulatory pressure that we put down and mandates on them, I'm seeing people in my own office that are coming, hey, they just passed an assessment
Right.
and they can't afford it. Right.
That's what we're saying, right?
And this county, Miami-Dade County we passed part of the mayor's home pride program, a non-interest bearing loan to help with the refurbishing of these buildings. But that doesn't do anything to help the residents.
They're not
So
gonna be
this
able
is, I don't know, maybe in the future, we could take this on as an issue, and this could go up to the legislature as the urban counties or coastal communities that have a large number of condos and say enough is enough.
But Senator,
I just don't know who's gonna win that
I
battle.
spent decades
I know you
in heavy condo districts. And one of the problems is not just the governance, it's the governance. And what I mean by that is they are, Champlain Towers is a perfect example. They were repeatedly told that they needed to do special assessments, and the members, the voters, voted them down consistently. So that wasn't a governance issue, it was a governed issue. I remember when I was elected in 88, I was elected to the legislature in Howendale, back when they were all New York, New Jersey retirees, mostly Italian or Jewish. And I would say, guys, you cannot keep waiving your reserves. And they would tell me, listen, Sonny, I don't buy green bananas. I'm not worrying what's going to happen to my roof in 8 years. I'm not going to be here. My kids will worry about it, or my grandchildren, because they'll be the ones owning it. So I kind of think if they had to do something to make sure that you can't just continue to waive the reserves, which is what they did, but it leaves this giant unfunded pot for people that, whether they pass the legislation or not, they're reaching a point where they're going to have to start doing 10, 20, 30, 40,000 reserves, because they didn't do things like paint. They didn't do their waterproofing, because ceiling, and as a result, what they could have done for $500 a unit, the concrete's crumbling now and it's going to cost $50,000 a unit. And I don't know what the answer is, or if there is an answer, but that's going to be a massive issue. And it is, if we discuss housing, that will probably be 2.5 hours of the housing. But again, maybe we'll be doing insurance instead, or maybe we'll be doing, which was the third?
Recycling.
Recycling.
I like it.
Yeah,
I
again,
think
it's, we have to see, we don't get to pick a joint conference. We're proposing 3, and we'll see which TCRPC wants to do.
Should I continue?
Yes, please.
Okay, super. So, thank you.
So
So,
also, do we have it? Have we been hiring anybody new?
we just, you're so funny.
Yes.
Yeah, so, well, funny that you should ask.
Okay.
So I'm pleased to let everybody know that, and Senator Garcia will remember him, that we've hired Brandy DeShazo as deputy director. He comes to the Regional Planning Council with more than 20 years of experience at regional councils. He comes from, most recently from the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council, where he was chief of staff, and he's had positions of responsibility there as chief of planning and research. So he's gonna be doing the same sort of thing here. And he will be starting in September. He has a lot of experience. I'm happy to share his resume, but I'm very excited. And he's also a research data genius master of that, according to his former employer in Tampa Bay. And so we expect to see a lot more policy papers from the council that will be looking at data and research on issues of importance to this board and the region. So I'm very excited about that. He's gonna be, I think he's gonna be a great addition to council staff. We also need to go ahead and hire an additional person to work with our director of administration, Kathy, up front, because we're down a person there and we're constantly looking forward. So I'm very excited. We have some really good opportunities coming up. I also do want to mention to Senator Garcia, just to let you know that we've been working with Olga Anderson at the Solid Waste Management Department. Council staff has been running the support to Olga at Solid Waste, RER, who's been working with her to provide an update on the solid waste management issues. No, it's our pleasure. And on top of that, in addition, we'll be getting something official from your department But council staff here is also researching best practices on the issues of recycling, reducing contamination, and trying to provide you with additional resources in the solid waste department that will be helpful. And so we're committed for the long run now, and we will be doing that.
And we would like to we previously thanked Senator Garcia for bringing to the
Yes.
Miami-Dade County Commission was it a resolution? A resolution directing them to work with the SFRPC
That was great.
in terms of the follow-up to our solid waste meeting. So Senator, thank you for that.
Very
And we
good.
previously thanked you, but we're thanking you again.
And I appreciate you guys. I mean, it's important and it's an issue that affects all of our region and we really have to just figure out what we're gonna do with recycling, how we're gonna do this, and at least the education component of it, it's key because
One of the problems, as we've said many times, is local governments used to make money on recycling.
Right.
Today, it's cheaper to put it in the ground than it is to recycle. And a lot of local governments are only looking at the cost and therefore are going to want to put it in the ground. And I know we're having an issue in Broward where we're trying to figure out what we're doing. And I've indicated publicly, I'm not interested in just putting it in the ground, even if that's cheaper. For the sake of our landfill and our, our ecology as well as our economy, we really need to work on educating people. We can't keep doing single stream. We have to educate people what should not be going in. We have to sort it. And that will still be more expensive probably, even if we do all of those, than putting it into the ground, but it's better for the region. Commissioner Furr?
Yeah, I do think that this is a very good opportunity for this organization to figure out the dynamics for all three counties, or counties, can actually help each other out. Because there's some things that are, the redundancy doesn't make sense. It makes sense to, like I just saw an incredible thing with plastics. That's notoriously hard to recycle. However, they just invented some stuff from polymer that they're actually using it for construction. Habitat for Humanity just built 200 units using all the plastic, not just the 1 through 7. And so, you start to get innovation like that and you start to see that all over. But that would be a great company to bring to this area. You don't want to they're not going to come to each county, but they are building in York, they're building in lots of places. So what we want to be is attractive companies that can do that and take those resources, make something that we can all use, and then figure out where's the best place to put it. Right. Dade, Broward, Palm Beach.
I really don't care where it is.
I don't care.
There's a regional benefit to all
Exactly.
that.
Right.
Figure out it's a problem.
But that's gonna take a lot of dialogue between the three counties. And this may be the place where that can happen. I think it is.
Unfortunately, I had scheduled last week a trip to the Palm Beach recycling plant, and I was ill and had postponed that. But I wanted to invite, as a matter of fact, Isabel and I and Sam had spoken about inviting Senator Garcia. Commissioner Furr, you've been there.
I have. I'm going up September 5th with the League of Women Voters as well.
But what we determined is I couldn't invite you because of sunshine. Because no. According to our attorney,
Oh, really?
we have to record the meeting and make sure it's accessible for handicap. So at the end of it, because I wanted to invite the entire SFRPC officers and was told we could not do that, and we had to have separate doors. So,
I'll be doing it.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to send it.
And, perhaps, I don't know the capacity of Palm Beach, Commissioner Furr, it may make sense for us in Broward to speak with Palm Beach about trying to use their facility.
They
But
just cut us out.
wow, okay, that's nice. But I was going to say it probably wouldn't work anyhow because of the funding structure.
You wouldn't want to tour our facility? Are we
The one on fire?
I heard part of it's about to go back up.
Is that working?
I'd love to only in, one of those environmental suits with the, right. Yeah, no, okay. All right, are there any questions on those topics or anything else before Isabel reverts to her report?
I'm almost finished.
Okay, well, in that case, why don't we let her finish?
I just want to
Yeah.
go ahead and let y'all know we've been fortunate to have a young man working with us, Ian Hayden, which some of you may know, who has been working with us as our Clean Cities intern, so that's been going very well. You'll see from the highlights, all sorts of things are going on. Looking ahead, we have a very, very busy fall. September is always a very busy meeting, and then in October, depending, I don't know, Senator, how many controversial comp plan amendments we might expect coming from Miami-Dade County in September. But depending on that, we may have a meeting. in
Those could be
October.
special meetings in
Yes,
addition to what we
and then we
have.
have our.
Because we have a 30,
conference.
we're on a 30-day
And,
clock.
Yes. So we'll see what happens with that. And just as I'm mentioning that, I'll just mention, we've been working on the city park DRI.
The what?
The development of regional impact in Miami-Dade County, outside the urban development boundary, of course. And we've been working there with, I was making a joke, but the DRI process, we thought it's the last DRI. It literally probably is the last DRI. But in that role, I just want to be clear, the council does not play judge in any sort. All we do is, with the help of a group of agencies from all different disciplines, we all work together to assess the impact of a proposed project. That's our role.
And one
We
of the
assess the
problems-
impact and then recommend things for mitigation. So
And as we said earlier, one of the problems is that we're on 30-day clock there too, right?
no,
We're not, okay, so we can get the other reports first?
well, we all work together. This
Okay.
has been going on for more than a year now.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so we will at one point or another, assuming that the applicant wants to continue with the process. Because it did start many years ago and it was paused and now we've slowed down a little bit. Maybe it's because of summer, I don't know. But at the end, there will be a regional report that will describe the project as proposed with the impact, and that will go to Miami-Dade County, where the commission then will assess what it is.
Right.
So that's our.
Probably ignore a recommendation, but that's okay.
No.
Yeah.
that's okay.
Okay, all right. Are there any questions, Ms. Cosio? Because I do want to wrap this
I
up.
don't believe I have anything else at this time. Thank you.
Are there any questions? If not, thank you, Ms. Cosio, Carvalho.
You're welcome.
Legal counsel report.
Thank you, Senator Chair Geller. We have no litigation to report other than what's been described in the RLF documentation, because I'll rest on that, quite frankly. And to the extent that we can pursue that other question you asked earlier, I will have that conversation with you further.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Council member report again. I just want to say I am now the chair of the Urban Counties group of Florida Association of Counties. Commissioner Fur.
Just to announce that the thresholds for the interlocal agreement with all the cities and the county for solid waste was achieved a few weeks ago.
Which means we now have an agreement to reach an agreement.
Right.
We just don't have an agreement.
We don't have a plan yet, but
Right.
it was a major threshold to get.
Right.
And there's only 3 cities not joining at this point.
Which 3 are they?
Well, there's 2 that have said they will not. Pompano, Hollando Beach, Pembroke Pines is gonna decide on August 16th.
Okay, why did those 2 not want to?
Pompano has a unique agreement with Waste Management. They actually have a host fee,
Okay,
and
gotcha.
Hollindale, I don't know why.
I live in Hollandale, so I completely understand Commissioner
Yeah,
Fur.
I don't know. I have not had a chance to talk to
Is
Joy.
the commission unanimous on that, or is this one of those things where the commission is broken? Well, if you're for it, I'm against it.
No, that was, both of those were unanimous.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Anything
Any of our.
else? I'm going to go to the ex officios next. Any other council member reports? Okay, ex officio. I don't have a list of them. So are there any ex officio that have a report?
Yes, that one's on.
Dad, hi Dad.
Yes, hello everyone. Sorry I joined late. Just real quickly, you're working through the DRI, this City Park DRI as executive director mentioned. They did reach out to the Department of Transportation regarding the impacts to the transportation. And they asked us to coordinate or meet with them to discuss their findings. And we clearly discussed with them to make sure that we go through the RPC to do the coordination. So I think, I guess you're requesting to get the authorization so we can initiate the conversation, so. that's it.
Isabel?
Yeah, so, thank you, Dad.
How do you get that filter?
We just took worry back.
Oh, you did?
Okay.
I discovered the other day. Oh, did
So essentially, back in August of 2022, we had a day-long meeting here talking about the different methodologies that would be used in the DRI process. Half of that was on transportation, and Senator, one of the issues that's come up is that when we have DOT, the county, the council, transportation consultant, and of course the applicants and other partners, we all got together to discuss the methodology we wanted to use to assess the transportation impacts. And that knows the technical names as Christina back there. The bottom line is that my understanding is that the applicant wants to use a different methodology, which has not been approved. And they were seeking an additional conversation about this methodology. And at that point, DOT was very smart. They had approached DOT directly. DOT brought them back into the DRI framework, which is where it's supposed to be. And I let them know that we would be happy to set up another meeting as long as it was approved by Mr. Burkow, who is the lead for the applicant. I have not heard from Mr. Burkow anything to suggest anything. So we are on pause there. But I will point out, we did spend a lot of time on this issue last year. And so my question would be, is something changed? So
I would be very cautious about accepting a methodology that's proposed by the applicant that's not approved by FDOT or other, right? Just, I can come up with methodologies that will always approve whatever I
So
want to do.
so I just want to let you know that it's back into the process. And I think we're pretty unified in the methodology that we selected, that we feel that is the one that needs to be used. And we can't obligate them, but certainly our report can reflect what methodology was used and whether it's the one we requested.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
If there's no other questions, we'll move on to South Florida Water Management District, Armando. And before you were going to say nothing, but I think you were saying that.
No, I was gonna say, no, there's nothing new.
Well, but there is. Okay, if you can, I was speaking with Dr. Gerardo a week or two ago. My understanding is that the restudy has been, we had asked for, well, I think it was 2 million, 3 million, and then we came in and asked for 28 million or so is what we really needed. And the Army Corps, not in Jacksonville, but not the colonel, the general, which is over the southeast. It went up to that Army Corps office and they did agree to a scaled back recommendation of $20 million, which was higher than what had been approved. But and that would be sufficient. I think the scope of that is only the scope of the SFRPC into Palm Beach, the area, Dade, Broward, and southern central area of Palm Beach. And that was going to be for 20 million, and they agreed to recommend that. Of course, they're recommending it doesn't mean we'll get the money, but now for the first time we have a recommendation. Do you know, I'm going from my memory. Do you have any update on that or commentary?
I mean, I have an update on it. I did see the back and forth on that item, but I can update you on the next meeting.
Okay, thanks. Or I'll ask Dr. Grotto also, because I think she was deeply involved in the negotiations. Remember, until that gets fixed, invest in houseboats and ARCs. Jason Andriotta, DEP, any report? Not here. Okay. That concludes Item 6, we are now on announcements.
I see the guy that's walking with there. Oh, never mind.
Okay, we are now on announcements and attachments. I think we pretty much covered that. Isabel, did you have anything? All right, is there anything else that we need to discuss? I'm sorry, I normally try and have it finished.
That Randy DeShaza, our new deputy director.
Okay. I try and have this done at noon. It's 12:03,
Almost
but
made it.
close enough.
Close.
People should still be able to make their 12:30 lunches.
Yeah.
Randy, did you have any comments you wanted to make? Otherwise, when you start here, you can, at your first meeting, but if you have any comments.
No, just I wanted to say thank you for the welcome. I look forward to joining the council. And one thing I've learned is never extend the meeting longer than you really need to. So again, thank you for the welcome.
Thank you. Is there anything else? Seeing nothing else, Senator Garcia moves that we adjourn. Any opposition? Show us adjourned at 12:04.